Evening, good morning, everyone. Today we have interview again. Interview with one of our clients in a BBA program, Jamie. So he comes with IT background, and he was able to grow his business to $1,000 a day. And super excited to share his story. Super excited to kind of like show the transition that he made and how he made that transition and all the mistakes that he made during that transition, so that everyone can learn from it and just show you guys what's possible, especially if you are in career that doesn't have a lot of potential, or maybe the career that you don't necessarily enjoy, you're not passionate about, and you want to have more freedom, you want to live where you want, you want to travel, you want to have the ability to change the places where you live, you want to make more money. So whichever aspect of life you want to improve, like e-commerce is one of the vehicles that probably the best to help you get there. And so that's what I want to share with you today. And so super excited. Jamie will join us in a few minutes. So drop your comments, drop your questions here so Jamie can answer them for you. I have a lot of questions that I want to ask him myself to help him. I see Jamie here is joining. It's awesome, Jamie. Hey, my man, what's up?
Hi, I'm all good. How are you doing?
Hey. Yeah, I was just giving background on kind of like overview of your story. I know you've been in IT your whole life, and you made a transition to e-commerce. And I want to ask you many questions in terms of how you did that transition, the main mistakes you made, so that we can all learn from it. And yeah, thank you so much for joining me. I know it's you're in UK right now.
Yeah,
Nice, awesome.
yeah.
So, yeah, guys, drop your questions for Jamie here, and we'll get started. So, and Jamie, so I know you coming from an IT background. Can you tell me more about kind of like what did you do exactly, like in IT?
Yeah, that's right. I've worked in IT, as a software engineer and also as sort of software engineering management. And that's pretty much been my sort of adult professional life. I've got an interest in sports and things like this, but in terms of work, that's pretty much all I've known. It's very um, analytical, right? You always you get to be creative in terms of how you come up with solutions and things like that. But at the end of the day, it either works or it doesn't. And I've never worked in a sales environment. I've never done anything like that. So for me, one of the biggest challenges was sort of picking up those skills and that sort of mentality shift, um, for sure.
hmm how much money did you make? Like I know IT is kind of, people know that you can make a lot of money, right? Like in IT
Yeah,
space.
you can have six-figure salary, right? And I progressed from being a graduate on whatever, just getting by to feeling like I was doing well, and your friends and family think you're doing well, and but you never really feel like you're getting ahead, right?
Mm,
there's always something you need to pay for. There's always some bill, and your lifestyle grows as well as things progress. So it's kind of like a false truth you kind of tell yourself, I think. And I think you just get to a point where you just think, well, why aren't I able to do? Why aren't I able to fly to that place? Why can't I get that car, or whatever it is, whatever it happens to be your goal is? Or why is it you just don't feel like you've got the level of sort of freedom and security that you might want? Um,
mm,
that, that just kind of led into sort of reading up more about sort of financial knowledge and things like this. And you know one thing led to another thing, and you start stumbling across sort of adverts like BBA course, um, where you're reading things like, hey, you want to make $10,000 a month from home, we can teach you how. And you think, well, that's interesting. That's kind of right up my alley. Yeah, what's going on there? And you just start diving into these things more.
mm. And so it's kind of like and I can understand why people would think that. So a lot of people are saying that e-commerce is a scam or e-commerce is saturated. Like, what would you say to those people that think that e-commerce is a scam, or maybe perhaps, maybe they don't even think that they're capable of doing it themselves?
I would say that there's some truth to what they're saying. There are scams out there. There are people selling rubbish products. There is a general kind of feeling, I think, from kind of your standard person with kind of a standard mentality, follow the pattern, get a safe job and just don't go outside your box. Those are the kind of people that would automatically react, right, and say like, hey, what is it you're doing? You're doing something illegal, you're scamming people, whatever. But there's also a ton of, I would say that, there's more legitimate businesses out there than there are scams. It is a very busy space, of course.
Hmm.
But it's a space that's still growing, and there is always a gap in every market. You just got to find it, and to sniff your nose at something like e-commerce and making sales online, you you talk, you're making a comment without any real knowledge, I think, in a lot of those situations. And um, from my experience from doing the course, it is challenging, it is tough. You do have to work hard, but that the lessons there are true, and at the very least, you're going to be picking up skills that are going to set you for life, and allow you to change your life. And so, yeah, there's a ton of counter arguments to those kind of statements for sure.
Awesome. So what was the main driver, like, for you personally, that led you to want to start your e-commerce store? You mentioned you kind of, you've been progressing in your IT career, you made some progress, you kind of like was more in manager, like kind of like overseeing other people and just having some progress there. So what was that really like motivated you to pursue this path in e-commerce?
Um, it generally just fit my situation. I looked at a few things. I've looked at things like Amazon FBA, and you look at Airbnb kind of models that people talk about. You look at sort of investing strategies people talk about, and I was obviously, I'd followed you for a while actually, and from following you, I think obviously sent your BBA ads my way, and that was also in the mix. And when I sort of evaluated all the things that I thought I realistically could have a go at, the thing that stood out to me was more you're learning you're learning about marketing, you're learning about branding, you're learning how to build something from scratch, how to build something from nothing. And that was kind of one of the things that kind of set my sort of neck hairs on fire when I'm looking at other options, right? And you look at things like FBA, and you've got to come up with a big sum of money up front when you've got like no experience. Realistically, even if you followed like a course or anything like that, you've got to take a big leap of faith there with a lot of money, and that was always kind of the thing that held me back. And I think the thing that stood out with BBA is yeah, you do need something to get going, but it's not enough that you're going to worry about it being a loss. And yeah, you gain experience quickly as you make mistakes and as you experiment, and you get to a point where you start to see some results, and that ultimately feeds back into your own confidence and your own motivation. And yeah, I took the leap of faith with BBA, and I'm feeling like it was a good decision. I'm feeling positive about it all, and generally feeling like I'm going in the direction I wanted to go in. Yeah.
Mm. And so what were like, did you have like, so, BBA is a paid program, right? There's investment and like, have you been nervous about it, like, or scared, or, anything like that before joining, or you were like very confident that you would make it work if
Yeah.
you just had the right
Yeah.
plan?
For sure. You have nerves when you join. You you know you you're investing in yourself at the end of the day, and you just hope that, okay, the course is good, that you can get some kind of results, and that you can get the support, and everything. Go back to your first question, right? Is e-commerce a scam? This is a course you're buying online. There's that there's that
Yeah.
inherent kind of feeling, right? I'm doing something online here. I don't know who I'm doing business with. But yeah, you have that feeling, of course, but from the moment you come in, you've got contact from, a mentor, someone who you can contact, and set up, one-to-one meetings with, get advice from. There's tons of people in the community. If you drop a "Hey, I'm new" message, and you get tons of sort of comments and reactions, and people sort of encouraging you, and you kind of you immediately kind of relax, right? And you kind of think, okay, well, what do I need to do next then? Like, what's here in the course, and what should I watch first? What should I do next? And you quickly find your way. And I think the fact that you're investing in yourself, well, for me anyway, it stops you from not stops you from giving up, but it kind of spurs you on, right? You've taken a leap, you've made a big step, and you want to see it through, and at least sort of make yourself proud, and achieve something. And so I think it's an important factor.
Hmm. And so, so you made that leap of faith. When did you join BBA?
It would have been over 6 months ago now, maybe 8 months. Yeah.
And so if you didn't have that leap of faith, if you didn't invest in yourself, where do you think you would be right now? Like, what would you think? You would just have the same career, like you
Probably,
would just
yeah, I'd still be doing, still be doing the same job for sure. But yeah, it's hard to say really. It's hard to say which other direction would have gone. Um, maybe I would have tried some of the other options. Maybe, you know, the negatives that kind of held me back from those options would have been too much and made me drop out of it. I don't know. It's hard to say because I didn't go down that path. It is really, it's really a
Mhm.
difficult question. All I know is where I am now, and that I can't say I have any regrets about it. It's feeling like a good choice, and I feel like I can go in the direction I want to go in, and for me, that's enough. I don't tend to look back in that way, really.
Hmm. Nice. So, and based on your experience, like in the last 6-8 months, in e-commerce, like with BBA, like, do you feel like e-commerce is saturated? Like, is this like too good to be true? Like, what's kind of based on the experience that you've had so far? What do you think?
Um, I guess there's kind of two sides to that. I guess the upfront sort of side that we're talking about here is it saturated? No, like it's a growing market, it's a growing space, and there is always opportunity. I think if you say like the opposite, you're kind of just looking for an excuse not to try, or maybe it's not for you, who knows, right? But to say that it's not viable, it's not true. It doesn't make sense when you look at the numbers, when you look at what's actually happening. The other side of it is, of course, you can fail in that space. If you've got too much negativity about you and your opinions on what you're trying to do in e-commerce, of course you can fail. You can put the blockers up, the blinkers on, and everything looks like a bad product, or nothing works. You really do have to sort of be um, a bit cold about it, and just, okay, I've got this idea. I'm going to try it out. I'm going to use the course ideas, use what the coaches are telling me, and give it a go. Okay, it didn't work. Doesn't mean it's a bad idea. It means I need to change something. You've got to have a more kind of cold, kind of experimental approach to it, and just kind of, and the coaches are great at helping you kind of analyze the situation, what's happening, what the good things that they see from their experience, what the things that they wouldn't like, and what you can focus on next, and they just give you kind of ideas like, okay, try it again, but do this different. You think, okay, see if something changes. And so, yeah, and they're very good at saying, well, I'd probably scrap that idea and move on to the next thing. And you do just have to take that kind of very analytical, kind of experimental approach, and not get too attached to anything, until you start to find something with some traction and build some momentum. And then it's like, okay, now I can hang on to this one a little bit, and I can give it a little bit more faith. And it is definitely a process. And I think it is a difficult space to get in. It is a challenge. You'd have to work hard. But if you believe it's going to fail, it'll fail. If you believe that, okay, I'll try again and see what changes and look for positives, you start to find your way. There is no magic wand. There is no big red button that just turns you into a successful entrepreneur overnight. even if you were to find like a really cool done for you service somewhere, right? Like a really expensive, high success rate done for you service. At the end of the day, you're going to be a business owner who knows nothing and doesn't know how to keep the thing, keep the boat on course and afloat, right? And so, yeah, I would say the stuff you learn here is invaluable.
Mm. And I think, I mean, if you look at social media, people flashing cars, people flashing, lifestyle and stuff like that. And um, sometimes it can give people like unrealistic expectations in terms of, what it actually takes to start a business. Because, even in my own journey, I mean, it took me like months and months, to get traction with my business. I made a lot of mistakes, and at some moments I was this close, like, yeah, should I just like, it probably doesn't even make sense to pursue, I probably should shut it down. And I used the same approach as you, where, okay, this didn't work, right? So maybe I should change this, right? So let's say, there's only a few variables if you think about it. Like, I like to kind of simplify it for people. um, it's a product, it's your funnel, it's your website, and it's ads, right? And so if you choose the right product that already has demand, right, then I mean, it's kind of already, validated. Now you just have to find a way to market that product effectively, and that comes to your website or that comes to your ads. And so that's what I learned, like, through experience. But I resonate a lot with this, because there have been like many points in my journey where I would be like, you test the product and you expect it to work out right away, or you just expect like instantaneous results, and then you realize, like, okay, it doesn't work. And it's either you just quit it, right? You just can move on to another product. And so what happens with a lot of people, I think, when they come to e-commerce, is that they start a project, they start testing products, results don't come instantaneously to them, and they just quit, right? They just look for another opportunity. They just, kind of, okay, maybe this opportunity is a scam, like there's another one. But if they don't have the tenacity, if they don't have the right kind of approach, as you said, analytical, because in every business it's about numbers, right? You look at the numbers, and numbers tell you the story. And if you don't have that, it doesn't matter what business model you pursue, whether it's, as you said, Amazon, um, whether it's Airbnb, right? Everything has to be as analytical as possible, and you need to be making decisions based on data, not based on your experience. Especially if you don't have the experience, there is nothing to base your opinions on, right? If you haven't done this before. And so what like what mindset shifts did you have throughout this journey that, like, kind of changed you, right? Or change your identity, right? Because you were coming into this with probably very similar mindset that a lot of people had. And throughout this journey, you evolved as a person, where now, you're more analytical, you're more data driven. Like, what kind of personal shifts did you have as a person, throughout this journey?
I think one of the key things, you just said it right. I think when you're in a standard form of life, right? You're following the normal process. Anything that's kind of risky or investment based, or things related to finance and stuff, you tend to be quite emotional, and you tend to react emotionally. And I think you hit the nail on the head. You do learn to kind of weigh up the risks and think, can I take this risk? Can I accept this risk? And then use data to make your next decision, rather than the emotional thing of like, oh, this isn't for me, or this doesn't work, this is stupid, right? And you bounce out to the next thing. You're just gonna that thing is just gonna follow you wherever you go and whatever you try. Um, the other sort of realization is just like, no one's coming to save you. You want your life to change. Like, you have to do it. Ask any successful entrepreneur out there, and they will tell you a war story. They didn't just wake up one day successful and knowing everything that they know. It comes through mistakes. It comes through difficult trials and tribulations, right? Um, and I think you say it a lot in a lot of your um, uh, content, right? Is how much you've spent to know what you know, right? Sure, you're at a point where what you spend tends to come back with a good return, but there would have been a time in your life where you spent and you got no return, but you learned a lot. And it's the same. Everyone's got to go through that process. Some people hit a bit of luck early on. Some people it takes a bit longer. You can't compare yourself to other people. You just got to keep going on your path, and understand that, it stops when you give up. Whilst you carry on, you've still got a chance. You can either view everything as a scam or an opportunity, right? You've obviously got to have your brain engaged and be looking around, looking at reality, but it's a mindset thing. Everything's either a scam or it's an opportunity. And, I'm in this and I'm seeing it as an opportunity and I'm getting somewhere. There are people on the course that are getting there faster than me. And on one hand, it's wonderful to see, and you think, yeah, it spurs you on. On the other hand, you think, it's going to be me next week. and you just crack on, right? But as soon as you start comparing yourself to other people, right, and grading yourself against them, you're just going to put yourself down. You've just got to focus on yourself, focus on what it is you want, where you want to get to, where you're at, and make the next choice for the next step. It is a very humble, kind of methodical mentality.
That does that come to you like naturally because you come from like IT background, or like you had to learn it over time?
I think I've always had an element of that to my character, right? I think this process has kind of strengthened that. That's probably all I can say. I've always been a fairly disciplined person, but this is. I think it increases your discipline. I think it increases your sense of self-responsibility and your own sense of power in yourself and what you can do, what you can achieve. I think things just grow in that direction for the better.
It's interesting because you mentioned was overall like was this business, right, and it requires some investment, and with any business there's almost like pretty much no businesses where you can just start with like zero capital. You need to have some capital, and no one likes to lose money. I don't like to lose money. You don't like to lose money. Like people watching this, they also don't like to lose money.
You say that, but we lose money all the time, right? I can think back to before I was on this sort of path, and I'd lose money in a bar, right? Just waste my time. I'd get drunk and maybe want to go to a casino. I'd lose some money there, but I had a good time, right? I was with my friends. We lose money all the time, but as soon as it becomes something like, our goal is to make money, and then we lose money, we feel like a failure and we feel negative about it, and that becomes like a negative cycle, psychologically, and you avoid it in the future. But at least, when you lose money and you had a good time, right? But where did you go? Nowhere. Like, at the end of the day, it's my priorities shifted, and I'm not interested in that. I'm tired of feeling like I'm not getting ahead, and I want to change that. And with that priority shift, your mentality can shift, and you do have to be willing to lose something, but it's calculated, it's balanced. You weigh up the risks, and you don't dive in with 2 feet. That's for sure. You talk to the coaches, you learn from the course, and you follow the guidelines until you kind of get a feeling what you're doing.
So people saying this is not a live stream. We have a comment here. This is not a live stream. Is this a live stream, Jamie?
Oh, it's totally live. I don't know, somebody put something in the comment and I'll say it right now.
Yeah. So it's Wednesday, March. I don't know if it focuses. It's Wednesday, March 13, and we're at 10:18 Eastern time. So this is live, people. So you mentioned a very good point that every successful entrepreneur, right? So okay, there is like a small kind of we're trying to make a business, we're trying to make a living, we're trying to most people trying to replace their, in terms of the income, replacing their their 9 to 5, or just make enough money to have a good lifestyle, live in different places if they want to, right? But if you look like a bigger picture, bigger businesses that have been built and that have been successful, you mentioned very good point that every successful entrepreneur that has made it, right, that we glorify, like that kind of on Forbes magazine, like all of those things, like they have been through tough times. And when they started the business, it wasn't like instantaneous like success. And even like Elon Musk, right? Like if I read a story about PayPal when they started the PayPal and they raised a lot of money, it wasn't even like self-funded business, right? So it was, I mean, supposedly it's even easier to start a business. Yeah, you have a lot of capital, you can hire people almost like from day one and like stuff like that. And these are very smart people, Elon Musk, Peter Thiel, like all of these very successful entrepreneurs that we glorify that are now billionaires. And then you read the story, and you realize that PayPal was this close to basically being shut down. They were like burning money. They didn't have a product market fit. Company wasn't self-sustainable, and they made some right decisions to get the company back on track. But it's like years and years and years into the business, they were losing money, and they're not stupid people, right? And so if you reflect on that, right, and then you reflect on your own journey, obviously, we don't have as much capital as they had, but it's kind of like, it's even like delusional to expect that in some ways, right? That you're like, yeah, I'll hit
I
it
think
right away. Like
that's
first,
yeah, that story goes even further, right? I mean, you're talking about one of the richest men in the world, not just successful, right? And when he sold, I can't remember the numbers, so don't quote me. I'll probably get it wrong. But when he sold PayPal, so you're right. He went through that tough run and made it successful, and then eventually sold for a lot of money, a sum of money that most people would just sort of take it and play it safe from then on, right? But he took every penny of that and invested it into three businesses, three new businesses, which was a big risk, and again had more difficulties and things to overcome. And that is what took him not just from being a successful entrepreneur, but to one of the most successful entrepreneurs ever in history, right? Like, so he went even a step further than where most people would go, right? And if you could replicate that success with PayPal.
yeah, exactly. And kind of reflecting on that journey, or like, I mean, even every book that you'd read about successful entrepreneurs, John D. Rockefeller was failing in his other business, before he discovered, the opportunity. Like all of the successful entrepreneurs, they have been through these challenges initially when they're starting a business. And so, yeah, I think for entrepreneurs watching, or people that want to get into business, like you have to just like set your expectations correctly, that it will take some time to figure it out. It won't be instantaneous. Like for the most people, like even for me, like I was like months and months and months into the business, and I was like, gee, I mean, this doesn't look very promising. And then it hit, like, but it required me to stay on that path. But because if I wouldn't stay on that path, like I don't know what I would do right now. Like, and and it comes down to just you know personal character, right? That more than anything else. I mean, there could be a phenomenal business opportunity that could be like very like opportunity with very little competition, could be something new that market has never seen. But you have to evolve through this journey as a person. You have to know that kind of the challenges will come, and on every stage of the business, the challenges will just become different. It won't be like a smooth path. Like entrepreneurship, like from my experience, I don't know, it's like, and reading a lot of books, it's like this, right? It's kind of like goes in, you have some success, then you face a new obstacle, right? You figure it out, you kind of like have temporary down moment, you go up again, right? You figure out something, you get to the next level, there's some new challenges waiting for you. And so on that kind of like, if people thinking kind of like more long term, what they are getting into, that's what will happen. I have not seen an entrepreneur that just like, yeah, I launched my e-commerce business from day one, it's profitable, and they just keep reinvesting, and I drink I drink cocktails on the beach, and the business runs himself. Like I'm just kind of chilling. This is not reality. And kind of reflecting on that initial like that, let's say that first year in the business, right? If you persevere, as you mentioned, you will learn a lot of skills that will be super super valuable, that you can apply for the rest of your life. Most likely you will not have massive success in the first like 6 months, right? I mean, some people hit it. That's definitely possible, and you have seen it yourself, growing your business to having that success, getting business 1K a day. But most likely it won't be like a kind of instantaneous process. But then reflecting back on let's say even like your journey, right? Let's say you stick to the business like for 3-5 years, and you really commit to it, and you're really like on every stage you're trying to figure out and you're trying to make it work. The potential that is there, right, is a lot higher than if you would have just taken a safer path, right? It just, I mean, I don't know what was kind of the timeline for you specifically. How many years you've been in how many years you've been in IT?
I think when did I graduated around 24, 25 years old. I was a bit late, but I've been there, well, almost 37. So that's like, yeah, over 10 years, 12 years maybe in total.
And what is like, if you would have stuck to that path, like what is the journey? What was your like, from your experience and from what you know, like what would have been the biggest, like let's say in terms of like even like money, how much you would have made like per year in IT?
Well, you can get to 6 figures. You can get to sort of big bonus packages. You for most sort of positions, you're kind of topping out sort of around maybe 150K salary sort of thing, which is good. You're in the upper percentiles of society in terms of what people earn as a salary, and your lifestyle can grow and you can afford to live well enough. But then you're always waiting for the next paycheck, right? Because like say your lifestyle grows with it, and it's not something that can grow exponentially. It's always going to be like this very slow, steady path where you get your incremental sort of pay rises and maybe a bonus here and there, and so on and so forth. And yeah, it just doesn't get you where if you've got big ambitions and you want to just never ever worry, and to be able to buy the nice cars or go on the very expensive holidays, or kids go to private school, you never kind of worry about how you're going to pay for things, right? You need multiple streams of income. And that's the main thing I learned early on when I started sort of finding books, finding material, content around sort of financial knowledge. Was the main difference between sort of your average person and your wealthy people is the multiple streams of income. Obviously, you don't want to try and go from being an employee somewhere to having 7-8 streams of income, because you're just going to fail. You need to focus on the next one, right? And get that somewhere. And only once that is now sort of maxed out and you know what you're doing, that you would ever focus on the third, right? And you kind of have to build it up that way. And you tend to find a reluctance from people to see the benefit of spending 10 years trying to get to that. But nobody bats an eyelid if you spend 10 years in a single job, not really kind of taking off anywhere. And I think you also touched on a point there when you were speaking. And I can remember sitting dreaming about like, oh, wouldn't it be lovely if I could drive a Ferrari? Wouldn't it be lovely if I could go to the Maldives? Wouldn't it be lovely if I could do this, right? It ain't going to happen. It's not going to come out of anywhere magically, just from having a job, right? Like you're going to have to grind and save money and really scrimp to be able to experience these things like one time for a few years, right? And if you at least try to go down that path of building an external, a secondary source of income that you control and that you can scale, it might not happen overnight. It might not happen in 6 months. It might take you a year, but you are so much closer to achieving that dream than you ever were before in your life. And that's the key thing. Like you're now at a point where you can strike a little bit of luck. You can, test out a product to sell, and it just, oh, okay, that was great. That got 5 sales today on a test. Like that's incredible. Okay, right. Let's put all our energy into that for the next couple months and see what happens. Right. Your dreams can come true when you're on that path. There is a 0 chance of it happening when you just stay where you are. Right.
Yeah, I think it's very valuable to just kind of, and I do these interviews, like I try to do them like weekly with our other clients, and I kind of like see the trend that they usually would work like in a career that either was not very fulfilling, or they would just project 10-20 years from now, right? And some careers, I mean, they probably will be replaced by AI or some technology. many careers will be, there's many jobs that will be replaced by those technologies, as world is evolving. But even if not, even if you still do the same thing and you project 10, 20 years from now, right? Obviously it's not for everyone. Like most people will just prefer the safer path, or they just believe so much in that safer path, that kind of, okay, you go to college, you go to university, and then you get a job, and then you work for 40 years, and somehow it works out at the end. Maybe you get the retirement, and when you're 65, that's when you maybe you can kind of like travel, and also if you invested your money, maybe you have something to show for it. But I think most people, and that's for people watching this, I would like to just challenge you and just ask you to reflect on your journey and what you're doing right now, and whether that will bring you to the outcomes that you want, right? If they want to take care of their family, they want to have the lifestyle that they want. And as you said, it's like, in many cases, like what people do right now, like it won't lead them to that outcome. And in that case, I mean, you have to look for the alternative options. And starting a business is definitely one of them. And I mean, all of these successful entrepreneurs are pretty much started the business, invested the business. That is kind of the faster path to achieve the goals, if they have that ambition. Not everyone has the ambition. Not everyone wants to, like the way I see it is like, if you dedicate 5-10 years into something with your whole heart, right, and you're trying to become the best, and you're learning every day, and you improving like every percent every single day, then the outcomes that you would see at the end of those like 5 years and 10 years, like you could retire, and you could just accelerate. So initially it's like, I see it like this, as you said, if you pursue a job, you pursue a career, it's kind of like a slow and steady kind of maybe growth, right, depending of whether that job will be replaced by technology, or there'll be some other you know um, dangers and threats to that. But it's kind of like gradual, and it's like most likely it won't have like a very big leaps of growth. Business is like, initially it's harder, as we talked about, like first like 6-12 months will be probably difficult, and like you'll have to learn a lot, you'll have to accumulate a lot of skills, you'll have to change a lot of internal beliefs. But then let's say second year, third year, fourth year, fifth year, if you just stick to it, because I have seen this happen so many times. We've been doing the education part of our business for the last like 4 or 5 years, and I see the entrepreneurs that really stuck to it, and I see the entrepreneurs that's really trying to be the best. Like one of our clients, Andrew Payne, he's been in the industry for like probably total like 10 years. He was in slightly different. Now he got an e-commerce like 4 or 5 years ago. Last year he made $56 million in sales with his business, and like profitably, right? Like, so there is like millions and millions of dollars of profit, right? Like, so I mean, you'd have to work for decades like to make that amount of profits, right? Or Marek, one of our clients, doing right now like $9 million per month in sales. And you're just reflecting on that, and you just like, yes, initially it's hard, initially it will be challenging. You don't have to do it like all right away. You can start doing it on the side, start dedicating time to it. Once it shows the potential, you kind of like, then and once a business in terms of the income like overtakes yours, or at least gets close, you can just quit your job and just focus on it full time. But in terms of the potential long term, if people start like really reflecting on it, again, especially if they have ambitions, right? If they want to just like work job and retire at 65, probably do 70 by then, because most governments are broke, right? They'll try to increase the retirement age. And so you can set yourself for life in 15 years. Like that just had been my experience. And all the people that I have observed that's really stuck to it for extended period of time, and just overcoming the challenges that come their way. So yeah, for people watching, I would just kind of challenge you to reflect on that, whether what you're doing right now is kind of the outcome that you will get if you just continue doing the same thing over extended period of time. It's like, What is it? What is at the end of it? What is it? And what is a light at the end? Is there a light at the end of the tunnel? Cool. Awesome. So like coming into BBA, like what let's start with like product research. What have been your kind of conceptions, like your ideas about the product research and choosing products to sell, and how those have changed for you? Because that's something that a lot of people I think are struggling with.
Yeah. By the way, can you hear me okay still?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, yeah, I had a earphone kind of flip. Um, yeah, product research, that was probably the biggest hurdle. Um, one of the first things you kind of do in the course is, they kind of guide you to how to find products, how to do research. You kind of got to come up with a list. You kind of got to come up with a list of products that you're going to sort of experiment with and test out. And that step took me ages. Really, like I would follow all the different videos, all the different research techniques, and try and find something. And I just had this thing in my head about, that product looks rubbish, that looks stupid, nobody would buy that, I wouldn't buy that. And just, you kind of fighting with yourself the whole way through that process. And I think I got something like a list of 20, and it took me ages. And I think I spoke to a coach and was like, "Hey, this is where I'm at. I just can't seem to find anything else. And even these, I feel like I'm stretching a little bit." And they just kind of went, "Oh, fine, let's work with this then." And we just got into the process of, let's focus on something else. Let's start looking at your storefront. Let's start looking at, getting some initial product tests out. So you get into that habit. Okay, you get something from a couple of those products, and you think, okay, well, let's iterate. Let's go into that a little bit. And I was still doing product research on, in parallel, and that seemed to, over time, I kind of broke down those walls I had in, within my mind. And I got to the point where you just start seeing things like, yeah, okay, people are interested in this type of thing. This is what lots of people are selling. This thing is similar, but looks different or has this unique factor about it. These are all the kind of angles and perspectives that customers might have around it. And you just start to get more into that mindset, and the juices start flowing more freely, and you start to get a bit more creative sort of in that lane, right? Rather than being faced with a complex problem that you've got to kind of solve, like I say, IT style work. This is, you have a lot more freedom to be creative, I think, with this. And I think a lot of people, from what I've seen in the course, you get a lot of newcomers who struggle with this, and I tend to jump on those comments quite quick and offer my kind of experience, just reassure them it's normal. But yeah, that was a huge stumbling block, and I think that's one of the biggest factors why it took me sort of 6 months to really kind of get anywhere significantly.
Just changing your perspective on, let's say, interesting you mentioned that, because I've been through the same challenges. I'm like, oh wow, this product looks amazing, I would sell it, right? Like, and then we made some mistakes where we even would buy the inventory for products that I personally like, and I would think, oh, this product would absolutely crush, but that product wasn't validated. That product wasn't sold successfully by other people, but I personally liked it, so I would put my personal opinion, right, um kind of like before the data, right? And so I think that's probably one of the biggest kind of like obstacles that people just have to overcome. That at the end of the day, like what we do with e-commerce, I mean, what you do with any business, right, is like you serving the market, right? And the market in many cases is not you, right? Maybe you're selling the product to someone like you. I mean, maybe, let's say for you, it's like you would probably find very good products to sell or services to sell to IT professionals. And that probably, I mean, that would have like a lot higher likelihood because you are IT professional. And but for most people, let's say if we're selling products in our business right now, we're in the beauty niche. We're selling products to women over 40, 45 years old. I'm not a lady. Like I don't know. and I'm younger too. So I don't even know what they want, right? And so, after making all of these mistakes, I also reflected on my journey. It's like, and it's the same. It's like you're looking at the data, what people are buying, what people are selling, and trying to remove your personal opinion from it as much as possible, because unless you have like a lot of experience and like you really understand that market that you're selling to and what they want, the opinion is irrelevant, because you're not your customer, and we're serving markets. So we're finding what specific segment of people want, right? Let's say it's housewives. Let's say it's could be men, could be women, depending on the product who you want to sell to. And we just have to observe how people react to it and how that specific market, like for example, for me, it doesn't make sense that certain like celebrities are popular, right? But who cares, right? Certain celebrities are popular, and just the way it is. They found their market that they're serving. And for me, I'm looking at it, yeah, it's like I would never follow that person, I would never like go to that show or that concert, I would never. But it doesn't matter, right? There's so many segments of the market that you can serve with your products, and when you're doing the product research, you just have to focus on the market first, and the problem that product solves. And if you do that, then you have a lot higher likelihood of just hitting a product that really works.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the whole process in the course, is just breaking down that emotional bond you have with your own ideas, that you want to try out, and just, okay, you got to start with a seed, right? And that might be your idea. It might be something you think looks cool and might sell. Well, that might be where you start. But the process in BBA is to help you kind of make the correct decisions and kind of refine and get to a point where, okay, that's your segment of the market. These are your customers. This is the demographics. And these are the things. And then start looking at, well, how did they respond when you made this change? Was it positive? Was it negative? Do you do that again? Do you not ever do that again? Do you try something new, right? And yeah, it's 100%.
And it's applicable on every level of business. Like we touched on, Elon Musk and PayPal story. I don't know if if you heard about this story, but how they found the product market fit, how they basically recovered the company from almost going out of business, is where they analyzed all of their customers that they had for PayPal, because they try to sell to everyone, right? Oh, you need to pay your friend, or you need to pay for service, you need to pay for product, you can use PayPal, right? They were like going super broad. And that's also like probably one of the biggest mistakes I see people making. They're trying to sell the product to everyone instead of finding the segment of the market. And so what these guys did in PayPal, they analyzed their customers, and they realized there was a segment of customers that were their best customers. Like they were like paying a lot, and they were signing up very easily to use PayPal. And that was eBay sellers. And they realized that once they, again, just took their personal opinion out of it, analyzed the data, and they focused on exclusively that segment of the customers. How do we get the best, eBay sellers to use PayPal, right? Because it was such an easy sell for them. They would help them integrate the buttons, so people can buy products directly. And that's when the business just went from almost like bankrupt. They just blew it up, and then eventually they were able to exit the business. I think even eBay bought them, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know the whole story, but it's incredible that these kind of like personal, like in some ways, we're like our own enemy, right? And it's like, especially when it comes to business, that we're making our own personal kind of attachment to the product. Their personal decisions matter more than the real data and what people want. And I think once people overcome that, it becomes a lot more powerful, because you're just observing the markets. You see what's working, you see what products are selling, what people want to buy, what people are just like willingly taking the money from their wallet and paying for. And once you find that, I mean, that's when you get on the journey to becoming like a very good marketer, because you can get to any market, and you can do some research, you can analyze what people are buying, why they like that product, and then you bring those products to the market and sell them successfully.
yeah, super valuable skills. And I think it's like we said earlier, you kind of just learn to take the emotion out of it, which is how you come in, right? You start off emotional and reacting to things and sort of worrying if you've done the right thing, and you learn just to sort of take a calculated risk, analyze, iterate, proceed. So yeah.
Awesome. So, I mean, reflecting on your journey, like, and where you're now, like, do you think you would have figured it out on your own, like all of the skills that you've had, and just kind of getting that traction with the business?
That's a big question. Yeah, probably not, to be honest. In the best case scenario, I'd have probably struggled along on my own using free content, YouTube channels, the stuff people like you put out there, just little tidbits, right, for free and stuff, and tried my best. I wouldn't have had as much confidence to take some of the risks taken, you probably would have ended up looking for some, looking to hire some expert to help me with things, right, which would have cost. And again, those can be hit and miss. You don't know what you're getting when you opt in for those sorts of things. And so I think I said it earlier, no regrets really. I think it's a great choice for anybody looking to start e-commerce and is interested in trying to build their own business. Even if, at the end of it, you haven't necessarily hit the levels of success you want, you will have all the tools you need to take yourself forward. That is like a minimum. If you follow all the course instructions you have, the meetings with the coaches, and you try to do things the best you can, you will come out of it with all the tools you need to take yourself forward and go on your own timeline, whatever it might be. Best case scenario, a couple of months in, you've hit a winner and you're flying high, right? No one can really say that, and it all comes down to sort of approach you take to it and the work you put in and your resilience. But everything's there that you need, and you'll come out of it. You will have invested in yourself, and you will have everything you expect it to have from that investment in yourself.
I reflect on my own, like, because we spent well over like probably like $150,000 like on mentorships, like not just for me, but also for our team, because everyone needs to like level up. And when we're spending money on that, it's kind of like and when you make investment in yourself or like in your team, it's like you kind of like, I think that also adds to your identity, because in order to succeed in business, I believe you need to have like a high self-esteem, and not all of us have been blessed with that. I had to rebuild my self-esteem from the age of like probably like I started business like in 25, 26, and I had to rebuild, right, because of a lot of the suppression, from parents, from teachers, from society. People tell you that you cannot do this, this is impossible, this is a scam, this is bullshit, it's like, just get a job. And I didn't even tell my parents that, because my parents, like, they wanted me to work in a factory, and they didn't even tell them that I told them, yeah, I'm working in a factory, everything is good, and I was already like running a business. I was already a millionaire, and that like, then I told them, oh, actually, yeah, I quit my job. And they're like, you quit your job? Like, it's like, why did you quit your job? And so there is a lot of kind of, and many of those kind of things that come from people very close to you. So I think also for people watching, it's important to realize like who's in your close circle, right? That is like really qualified to give you that advice, right? Like if let's say your parents or your friends never run a business, successful business, and they're trying to give you advice on how to run a business or whether or not to even get into the business, I mean, you might love them with your whole heart, but their advice is simply, they're not simply qualified to give you that advice. It's very important to see those things, because oftentimes that advice could come in forms like, yeah, we want to take care of you, we want to protect you, like we don't want to get you in trouble. Like when you like when you're a kid, right? They want to protect you. They don't want to like you to burn yourself or hit yourself and stuff like that. That's totally cool. But then when you're older, and that's what I had to overcome personally, like a lot. And I just decided not to tell everyone, like not to tell anyone. Like I just just focus on my stuff, and then only when it started to be like really really good, I shared it. And even then it was shocking experience for them. They were like, because they only know one path, right? And there is so many different paths to achieve the outcome that you want, especially if you have big ambitions in life and you want to set yourself for life financially, you want to have freedom. I mean, the paths that people around you have explored and seen and been through might not be the best path for you. And in that sense, it's just better to just listen to your gut. um Surround yourself by people who have actually done that, like exactly what you did, and that will just give you the like a lot higher chances of success than just uh listening to the wrong advice.
Yeah, agree with that. I think I'm in a similar boat. The only person I speak to about what I'm doing here is my wife. I love my family the same everyone does, but I come from a normal family, and the best way to protect your kids when you're growing up is to not take risks, right? And
Yeah.
so they'll push you into getting a job, making sure you've got a good pension, and that's that. If you deviate from that, they don't know how to help you, right? I think if you come from a family of rich entrepreneurs, they'll push you from a young age to think like a businessman and to take risks because that's what they know. But 95% of us, we're not from that background. And as soon as they hear that you're going to try something, they'll worry it's a scam, you're going to get ripped off. They'll worry that you're going to lose some money. But it's like, it's your life. Like for me as a man, like I had this feeling, like you say, trust your gut, and things weren't exactly how I wanted it to go. I'd followed family plans and stuck it out, finished university, got a decent job, progressed, focused on that side of life. And I didn't feel like I was going where I wanted to be going. And, this is difficult. This is extra work on the side, right? Like it's a lot of effort, but I feel happier than ever before. And that's one of the big reasons, right? And at the end of the day, I think there's some fact out there. Again, I don't want to claim I can remember every word verbatim, but you regret the chances you didn't take more than the failures that came from taking the chances. And so when you actually do trust your gut and go with it and give it a go, at least you sleep well at night knowing you gave it your best, and it, you're not ever going to think, well, what if? So for me, that's an important factor as well.
Yeah, Jeff Bezos, I think he has his when he was, I mean, he was very similar path as you. Like he was working like very well paid job on Wall Street, and he decided to take a leap of faith and start his own business. Initially Amazon was selling books, and he had this, I think he calls this regret minimization framework. When you're 80 years old, right, on your deathbed, like do you want to be regretting things that you should have done? Pretty much like whether you were like took all of the chances that you really wanted, that you felt like were risky chances, right? But they could have changed your life, instead of just I mean, he was like on a path like becoming millionaire, multimillionaire either way, right? But he felt that inside of him that he should just pursue that opportunity. And because of that, I mean, we all can now like use Amazon and get their products delivered like in 2 days. And so, and if he didn't, it just he would be kind of like killing a part of himself, right? It's like if you feel like you should do something, right, and you feel it and it's bugging you and you ignoring that, or you listening to other people that tell you otherwise, then it's kind of like a part of you that's you're just when I think about it, it's just kind of, even when I think about it, it's painful. It's so knowing what you know now, like if you could go back in time and you tell yourself one thing like regarding starting your own business, what would it be?
Start sooner.
Start sooner.
Time doesn't stop, mate. Time just keeps going on, and so the only way to get ahead is if you'd have started earlier, right? Like, I still would have had to learn all the things that I've learned, at this stage. I can't bypass that. I'd still been a similar sort of person in terms of the sort of work I've done in the past and what I know. That won't change, but start sooner, you're further ahead.
How many years it took you to pull the trigger? How much time it took you? Couple years.
And I did explore some other things in those 2 years. So, first sort of period was kind of upskilling, reading, trying to make sense of something I didn't really know much about, right? Financial knowledge is something that parents don't really teach that well. Schools don't teach well. Nobody does really. It's, if you come from the kind of family that can teach it, great. If you don't, you got to learn that stuff yourself somehow. And so a big part of it was just finding people putting that kind of content out, which kind of actually questions what you grow up believing, makes you question what you grow up believing, right? In terms of how to succeed and how to build up wealth. And yeah, following that, like I say, sort of FBA was one of the first things I really looked into and even kind of delved into a little course on. And like I say, the big thing there, like I say, was the upfront risk and having zero experience, right? That just gave me a knot in the stomach that I just couldn't get over. And then, it led me to BBA. And, I thought about it for a while, maybe, I don't know, I can't remember now, maybe 3 to 6 months, maybe there was some on the fence thinking, and in the end just took the dive. Asked a lot of, I asked the person who, I don't know what he is, maybe salesman or whatever for the course, right? And asked him a ton of questions, had maybe 3 or 4 calls with him, really grilled him, thought hard about the kind of questions I wanted to ask, the things that were bugging me, the things that were worrying me. And following that, took the leap. I figured I've got to make a move. I've got to do something, right? The longer I leave it, the more I sit, the more, I'm just going to wish and want. At least if I get on and do it, it's in my hands. And if it's a mistake, it's a mistake. I've got to take that on the chin. It could be the best thing that I ever chose to do, right? Business-wise, financially-wise, right? And so far, like I say, no regrets. It's delivering me the skills and the knowledge that I was missing and that I'm looking for. I think it also doesn't lock you into one way, right? Like you follow BBA and you kind of build a business that's making profit and is sustainable, right? Not only that, are you making a little bit of extra money, you are doing it from home. You're not having great big sums going out of your bank account every month to fund it. It builds up step by step to the point where you've got something, right? And you've also got the power in yourself to go further. And if you wanted to go into FBA, you've got your own brand, you've got your own product, you can go down that route and get that experience. You can dip into things like influencer marketing and social media marketing and build on those skills as well. The course does talk about those things, but the focus is more on finding products and scaling them and building your own sort of profitable sort of sales channel. But you're not locked into sort of one place. As you gain the experience, as you gain the success, as you gain something that you can actually build on, right? All of a sudden you've got profits that you can use to invest. You're no longer having to save money that you make through your blood, sweat and tears, right? And time. You suddenly have got things that you can use to grow and to invest and to put into practice the things that you're learning, if you're interested in sort of growing personal sort of wealth. And, when you look across sort of all the stories from people and all the books out there, the common thread is the first thing that they do is they invest in themselves. They build a business, they build something that has value, right? And they use that value to go further. And that's exactly what you can do here. And like I say, that's why I have no regrets. That's why, I'm sticking with this. That's why I've gone on beyond 6 months. I'm thankful to myself for taking the leap and thankful for the things I've learned and the progress I've made so far. I'm nowhere near where I want to be, but I've definitely had some cool things to celebrate along the way. even just getting that, you get your first sale, you get that first ding on the phone, right? Like, you're out in the supermarket, you're out going for a walk or whatever, you get that ding, and just, that feeling is just, it's a moment, right? And you celebrate and you're happy. And the next thing that happens is reality hits you and you think, well, how do I do it again? Or, well, tomorrow that didn't happen. Why didn't that happen? Right? Like, you celebrate, you enjoy it. But yeah, you really do kind of learn to, something you said earlier, actually, in this call was, when you haven't done anything to sort of take control of your future, right? And you're just going through the motions, you've got your job, you're putting your effort in there and you're following that path, right? You often sit and dream about, I wish I could just lay back on the beach and drink cocktails all day and do that. That'd be so cool, right? Don't have to worry, do what I want. And then the reality is, once you actually start focusing on how you actually make that a reality, how you make that possible, right? You start to fall in love with the process of either learning something new, figuring out why something's not doing well, and you get into that mindset of believing in the process and putting your energy into the process. And you're right, you don't ever just stop and say, well, I'm done now. Why is it so many entrepreneurs, they never stop and say, well, I've got enough, I'm just going to stop? Because that's not how you get there, right? Like, you get there by focusing on the process, focusing on the details, and iterating and making a change and seeing what happens and going down the positive reaction path. And when you do that, things will just keep snowballing and the momentum keeps building and growing, and what you've got keeps growing. And yeah, you might start to over time outsource things that you do to other people, which frees up your time. Again, all you're doing is you're just giving yourself options and you're giving yourself power within your own life. And yeah, you become responsible for making sure you're more responsible than ever for having to sort of balance your time, because you can just consume yourself with it. More so than when you've got like a 9-to-5 job, right? 5 o'clock comes, you're done, you're off, do what you want. So yeah.
Interesting. Jamie, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for sharing your stories. And kind of it just reinforces that everything is possible, right? If you just commit yourself to it. And again, you have to commit for extended period of time, because nothing great, like whether you're going to the gym, you want to build like a good body, right? That takes like months, and most likely it takes years until you really start seeing results and just adapting that as part of your life. And it was incredible to hear your story. Thank you so much for sharing it. I wish you next breakthroughs in your business. You have the right mindset to get there. And thank you so much for your leap of faith with BBA investing, and just investing in yourself. I mean, it's like we charge for the program, right? Because we allocate resources, we allocate the team, we allocate, like we pay to our team in order to provide the highest levels of support possible. We find the best people we can to just facilitate that process. But from your side, like, I mean, you took you took that personal investment, you invested in yourself, and I'm very grateful for that. And if you didn't do it, we wouldn't have this conversation. And maybe there's like one person, like, all I'm looking for from these interviews and from these calls is like one person, right? Not everyone. Like, people who still listen to this say this is bullshit. Like, oh, I don't want to spend another like 5 years. I would just do something else, right? And that's totally fine, right? It's not for everyone, but for the ambitious individuals who want more out of life and who want to achieve their goals, right, in a faster way. Because you project like we talked about, 20-40 years like staying in the same job that could be even like replaced by technology. Like, if people start thinking about that, then it gets pretty scary. And so this is the alternative path. This is not for everyone. This is only for people that want to dedicate time and want to dedicate their energy and fall in love with process, as you said, over time. Such a big point that over time, if you start enjoying the process, if you're passionate, like I always was listening to these interviews with successful entrepreneurs. Oh, you have to love what you do. Oh, you have to love what you do, right? And I was thinking, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, this is like, you made so much money, and now you probably love what you do because you made so much money. But you love you make a lot of money because you love what you do, right? And so it's kind of like loving the process, because you have to almost like kind of like obsess about the business, right? And like looking at different parts of it, like what could be done better, improving, seeing what else is happening in the market, like observing, being passionate about that. And that comes over time, as you said, from these, first, when you have these like first successes, and if you're really looking at it long term, and you're in the right environment that supports that people encourage you to do it, and you have some direct guidance and feedback what can be done better, that's when you start, fall in love with process. And that's when, real success. I mean, for me, a real success is obviously like, it's obviously financial, right? Like you want to be financially very well. You want to set up your family. You want to take care of the financial things. But it's also loving what you do, like waking up in the morning and really liking the process that you're going through, learning, like experience, like fixing all of these things in the business, making the business better every day. And over time that becomes it's almost like a addiction, right? Like when I go on vacation, I'm like, I want to see, oh, this can be done, and all of these ideas come to mind, how the business can be functioning better, how we can improve things. And I think that's true success. Success is doing something that you truly enjoy, that is not draining you, that you're just passionate about. And so it seems like you're on that journey. So I'm very excited for you, for your next breakthroughs. I have this kind of like not the rule, but I kind of like, I want to have another call with you when you're at 100K a month. That's like a next benchmark. And then there will be some new learnings, some new challenges along the way that you will explore and you will overcome. And I'm really looking forward to that.
Cool. Yeah, it'd be great. Definitely looking forward to that milestone myself. Hope I hit it. And yeah, thanks for the chat today. And
Thank you so much, Jamie. Thank you everyone for watching. I know there've been some comments we haven't answered. I just really wanted to dive into Jamie's story, because I think that's where tactics and all of these things, like, you figure out along the way. And especially if you're like in the right environment, like you'll find the solutions. We have solutions for pretty much any problem or any challenge, because we've been through all of those. Our team has been through all of those. And but first, it comes down to the mindset that you have when you come into the business. And if you want to get to the top, then it requires certain identity changes. And that's exactly what we covered. So thank you so much for sharing that, Jamie. And I'm looking forward to your next breakthroughs. Thank you everyone for watching. Thank you, Jamie.